Hi, today is Tuesday, May 12th, 2009, and my name is Robin Dugan, and I'm here with Betty Tomlinson to conduct an interview and find out some really interesting facts about Carroll County. Betty, I understand you've lived here most of your life.
Okay, I spent most of my life in Carroll County around Silver Run, Union Mills, and Westminster. I was born near Silver Run, which is Mayberry Road now. It was like Crossroad went over Mayberry, and we went this way. Okay, the road I was born on was called Automobile Road, in which, you know, they're changing everything today. My home, where I was born, in the house, raised 8 children, my mother did, and the house is still standing and people are living in it.
Wow. So you say you were born in the home where you live, which is different from
born in,
today.
not where I live now, but when I grew up.
Yes.
I guess I was at the age of 70, almost 19 when I left home. Okay, that's when I got married the first time. Okay, we lived off of the garden. My family was very, very poor. We lived off the garden. We planted potatoes and stuff, and lived off the garden in the summer and canned through the winter. And also, when I was little, we used to go in fields like A.W. Feeser Canning Company. We picked the beans, what was left in the field, or corn or something like that to can.
Betty,
and
what year was this? Trying to get a window of time. You were born in?
I was born in 1928.
Okay.
I was born through the Depression time. My mom bought the house and Dad bought the Depression, and they had the house paid for. It wasn't taken. When I was a teenager, okay, I was the horse. We planted potatoes. My daddy had a plow for a horse, but we didn't have the horse. So I was the horse, and he pushed the horse to plant the potatoes.
Wow.
Made the road. And he dropped the potatoes in. We worked hard, us kids did. It was 8 of us. But as I was saying, my mother had 3 sets of children. You got first ones and the second ones, and I and my brother from Hanover was the last one.
That's what I was going to ask. Where did you fall in the family? The oldest or in the youngest?
I don't know much history about my father, but he does come from Pennsylvania. I have met his sister and an aunt or nephew or niece or something. And I know some of my mom's people come from Deep Run Road in West Silver Run, where they're changing names. I know the Utzes, and I think they all passed away, and I know the Lippies, and I think they all passed away. That was my mom's family. That's all I know.
When you were a child and there were 8 of you, what kinds of things did you do for fun? It sounds like you worked really hard and did a lot of farming. What did you get to do?
From little one up, when I was about 4 years old, I worked I didn't work. I helped my mom when she picked beans, and she worked out in the field and picked tomatoes and stuff like that to make money. Okay, when I got 16 or a little younger, I worked in A.W. Feeser Canning Company in Silver Run.
Oh, okay.
After I got out of school, and I quit.
Tell me about that, what that was like, working for the canning company.
That wasn't too bad. It was fun. I fed the corn husker, and that was nice. And then at nighttime, we peeled tomatoes. They canned tomatoes are in Silver Run. The big factory's torn down now. And I think Charles Plunkett had the mansion that Feesers lived in, but I think it's for sale.
What other things did they can there besides, it sounds like corn and tomatoes?
That's all in Silver Run, yes. And my dad worked there. My dad was a farmer too. He worked for George Tracy of Boffman's Valley Road. That was a big farm he helped on. He stayed there through the week and came home Saturdays and Sundays to save gas. My dad had an old Model T and a Model A Ford. So I remember them.
Was that common for people to have more than one car, more than one vehicle back then?
No, we only had one, but when one wore the AT, I don't know which he had, the Model T first or the Model A, but it wore out and he got one. I don't know which it was. And when my father worked for, as I was saying, George Tracy's on a farm, he worked for George Tracy's to label the cans with peas and corn in it. And they took it to Baltimore somewhere to sell it, Feasers did. As I was saying again, when I was little, I used to go in the bean fields and pick beans and for a cent a pound to help out to buy things for the house or whatever. And then I guess I worked, as I say, in the canning factory, Feasers.
Did you have any special holiday traditions that you do with your family back in those days?
Well, holidays then didn't mean nothing because all we got was an orange for Christmas and whatever we needed clothes, that's all. And some family came home, some didn't, because we had a large family. It was 4 boys and 4 girls. And as I was saying, my brother and I from Hanover was the last ones. My mother had sets, 3 sets. She had earlier set, the middle set, and last set. Okay? You get what I mean?
Yes, yes.
And so I don't know much about the first set because they was almost all gone, but we was gathered. I mean,
so they were much older. They were much older than you.
Much older.
Okay.
And second group was some older, but they was all on their own too and had children. So my brother and I was the last ones. And I was a tomboy because I was the only one home. My mother used to work, as I was saying, when I came home from school, 8 years old or something like that.
Tell me about going to school. Did you walk to school? Did you take a bus? How did that work?
No, at that time we had to walk up to the crossroad in mud and snow. Wasn't no snowplow. We walked up there. Mr. Flickinger rode the bus, and we rode the bus to down to Union Mills School. They had a 2-room schoolhouse I first went to.
Wow.
And then from there...
How many boys and girls were in that schoolhouse?
I don't know.
Did it seem like a lot, or...?
It was a lot. Most of them's dead. Like Eddie Bagdell and Dorothy Laurier and some of the others I know from Silver Run, okay? They was all in that area, most of them. And then from there, we was transferred up to Silver Run when they built that Charles Carroll School. And there's where I started school. And of course, I stopped school though when I was in 7th grade to go get a factory job. And I started here in Westminster in a sewing factory. Then I guess a little while, then I quit, didn't like that. So then I went back in the summertime to the canning company. Then when I got married at 19, I moved to Hanover and worked at Hanover Shoe. And I lived there for, I guess, 2 or 3 years, and I got pregnant, moved back home. My dad wanted me to come back. Then we got a house down below my home.
And what was that like? Was it the same kind of a setting, another farmhouse, or were you?
No, it was only 3 rooms in it we got. Because I mostly went up home for something, make meals or something. My mom always had something up there anyway.
Was it common for women when they were expecting to want to then move back closer to their families? Do you think that was fairly common?
Well, no, that's not why. My father said I was the only girl and he didn't want nothing to happen to me.
Oh. So it's okay, Betty. If it's something you don't want to talk about, we can move on to something else.
That's all right. I'll talk about it.
Okay.
So I lived there, and then I guess after the baby was born, I moved back to Hanover, and I stayed there for a while. And I got sick.
Okay.
So then, as I say, we had a hard life,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't have no water in the house. We had to carry our water from a spring, and we didn't have no electric in the house till I was 10 years old.
Wow.
Or we didn't have no running water in the house till I was about 10. And we didn't have no telephone in the house till I was about 14. So we was very, very poor, but we kept the house up.
Did you have friends that lived nearby? Anyone that you liked to spend time with?
As time went by, yes, it's all built up now. You wouldn't know this section. Big houses and stuff splintered down through there. Okay, the home I had lived in was an acre and 3 perches in those days. I don't know what it meant. Nobody knows. I mean, the county knows, I guess. So we sold it to my cousin. My mom said sell it to her. So it was sold, and after that, because my cousin had it for 10 years and they sold it. Get back to the story there. Yes, our nearest, we had to walk 2 miles to the nearest neighbor, and a mile to the other neighbor, half a mile to the other neighbor. We had them not close by, they would spread it out. And then down towards Pike Creek, they had other neighbors. We associated, but we didn't see each other that much.
Did neighbors pitch in with each other if times were
Yes,
bad?
and
you
one
knew
of
your
them,
neighbors were there
and
for
one
you?
of them that was pretty far away was a farmer, Dave Wentz, and his land came up against us, our land, and he used to stop it and give us cow milk or something. But we was all friendly then. Maryland is friendlier than what it is now. People's changed. They don't. If you don't dress just like they think, they don't want to associate. You know what I'm saying? Then, I went to school with a girl that her name was Catherine Krause. She lived right in Union Mills. And Christmas or Easter, her mother used to give us a big box, with clothes. It didn't give it to us. Mom and Dad would pay $2 or $3 for it. And the beautiful clothes that Catherine had, velvet clothes and stuff. We wore second-hand clothes. I'm not ashamed of it.
Was it? It was probably common. Were most of the children that you knew doing that, wearing second-hand clothes?
Well,
because of the Depression?
We knew these people, and she knew that my father was poor and we was poor, because, as I was saying, they couldn't scrape up enough for 8 kids. But after they left, as I was saying, my daddy was buying the house through Depression, and of course I was a Depression kid, but he paid the house off before I got married. But my mother used to clean house for a name of Leonard Bankerts and pick tomatoes and corn there. And she used to clean house for Bessie, because Bessie worked in the sewing factory. And she made a lot of money there. Bessie used to give her money and they'd bring her home. And then, of course, my brothers all went to service. And then my last brother that was next to me went to service too. And it just changed things.
Well, tell me more about how that changed things, because they all left to go into the service. What was the area like
My
then?
brother that left to go in service, he was married and lived in Manchester. He went first. He was journeyman prisoner of war for 2 years. He came home, but he was in the hospital for a long time, but they took one lung out of him, and he lived in Lombard or somewhere. Just right now I can't tell you, but I know where he lived. Then my other brother worked in a foundry in Littlestown. He went in service, and he was in for a couple of years. I don't know how many anymore, but a couple till the war was over. Then he came home and got a job back working in a horse farm, and then for Hanover Shoe. Then he went back to the foundry. And my last brother, when he next to me, he got married, but he didn't see his wife was pregnant, and he didn't see the baby till he came back home 2 years. The baby was born on the way overseas.
Now, which war are you, when they went, which war are you recalling?
My last brother was in the last Korean War, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which war, all I know is war. I think it's either Vietnam or Korea, I don't know which.
Okay.
And of course now he lives in Pennsylvania, and he's got 2 girls. And way I can understand, he's got a large grandchildren, great-grandchildren. So I don't know.
Were there crafts, or so you mentioned sewing? Were there things that you used to make at home or as a family that you could tell us about, maybe that are?
I didn't ever make anything.
Okay.
No crafts and
no
no
sewing.
Nothing. Well, we used to sew. If you had a ripped dress, you had to sew it, but that, on a machine. Mm-hmm. And to iron clothes, we had to heat the iron on the stove for a while till we got electric.
That's helpful. What other things were different? I mean, people that live with electricity probably can't imagine. I'm sure there are things like the iron that you had to do that we wouldn't know about or would take for granted. Are there other things that you can describe based on the experience of growing up for so long without electricity that you would do differently?
Well, yes, because we had to wash everything on washboard. And when I had my children, I did not have diapers. Pampers, you had diapers. You had to wash those out in a wash tub with a scrub board and carry your water.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So that's not, but I can see the difference in Westminster and Union Hills. Now, when I was growing up, they didn't have the hospital. You had to go either Baltimore or Hanover. So there is a different, they had J.C. Penney's and the dime store, and that's all going on Main Street in Westminster here. It's all changed. It's really, I don't know, and the banks is all changing. They had a bank in Union Mills, and that's PC now. They built a new one instead of using the old one.
And
Ralph Bauman was we had one store in Bauman's Valley. You either had to get groceries, and or we had small. They handled small stuff, and then Frock's was there, and Bean Millers was in Silver Run, in which it's all made a lot of difference in the roads. They didn't have 140 then. We had one about just through town, and that's all. I could see a lot of difference in Carroll County.
If you came to Westminster back then, to town, what was your favorite thing to do? If you would get to come to Westminster.
Well, we had to come to Westminster about once every 2 weeks for groceries, but because we could get some in in stores, but not everything, The main thing, just staying out in the street, their dime store and talk, gather up and talk. That's all. Your people gathered up in front of the dime store and talked.
I did. What kinds of topics, was that how you found out about the news, or what kinds of things did you like to talk about?
Just talk about anything. Just anything.
Were they people that you knew?
Some of them wasn't, and then they just stand there and talk. They just come in town, I guess, for groceries and stand there and talk.
Oh, that's great. Is there anything else you want to tell us about your childhood or about your schooling?
Well, I said I quit when I was at Charles Carroll School in the grade because I stayed home, and getting back to it again, carrying water up over the hill to wash clothes. We had a spring, But the people who bought the house put water, dug a well, and put a well into the water in the house. Also, they fixed this. We had a pump in the house, but it froze through the winter because Mother didn't wrap it. It froze, so we had to carry the water
From the spring?
from the spring.
How
Wash
far?
clothes and everything.
How far was that?
I'll say from here to here, I guess, or it was a hill. I don't know. I can't how far it was.
How many times a day would you have to go to the spring?
Well, usually we went in the morning and then at night. We go in the morning to bring water in for the day, and then at night we went in for bring water, drink or whatever overnight. So, and we had an outside house. We didn't have no bathroom. You had to go out if cold or winter or whatever. And we did not have no toilet paper. We had to use paper, like newspaper, stuff like that.
Wow.
And we raised chickens, we raised ducks, and we killed all those, like I say, for holidays or something, instead of going out and get meat or something. My daddy was a great hunter. He'd hunt squirrels or rabbits or anything, and then if he got more than what we could eat, my mother made pie, and that was good. She would jar it for the winter, or that's the meat we had. Now, in my dad's earlier life and my mom's old life, that's before I came along, they had pigs. And when us last ones came along, they got rid of the pigs because they said they didn't need that much meat anymore because it was only two of us. So then, but he still hunted.
And is that how you got a lot of the meat that you ate as a family, from your dad hunting?
Do what?
Is that how you got most of your meat, from your dad hunting, instead of picking it up at the store the way we do now?
Yes, I think so.
Wow. That's really, really nice.
Yeah. So I did have real close neighbors, but they lived far away, you know. But some of us was real close.
Do you have anything now that you own that you had as a child or in your house back then?
No.
No.
No. My nephew has a stand of my mom and dad's, and his daughter has a picture of my mother's home place.
Oh, that's nice.
But I don't know how she got her. I guess through her dad gave it to her. It was my mother's mother's home place, and it just looks just like the day they took it, I guess, because she has it hanging on the wall. And my mom's wedding picture, my dad and mom was on it. My mom wore a bow in front and a white blouse, and she wore her hair back, I don't know, ponytail or something like that. And I don't think it was a ponytail, it was wrapped around. My brother has that in Hanover. That's the only piece I think was saved. As far as I know. If it was anything else somebody else got, I didn't. And a lot of things that we had, we didn't even save. Now, my one sister, I took care of my mom before she died with cancer. She got some of the dishes, but I didn't get anything. And my daddy got paralyzed too after I had my second child, and my mom waited on him day and night in the living room, which that's what it's supposed to be. We never used it for a living room. They call it parlor then. We had a stove in there, and she turned him and everything, and we asked the doctor. He couldn't talk or nothing. He couldn't move, but my mom wanted him in the home instead of putting him away.
But she took care of him in your parlor.
She took care of my father.
Well, thank you, Betty. Thank you very much for all your information.
And them days, doctors didn't come out like they do now. I mean, yeah, they came out to your house if it wasn't a snow, but you didn't have to go into them. They came out. Now, the doctor that delivered me was from Union Mills, Dr. Wetzel. I don't know who delivered the others. I think doctor from Westminster here did. And you didn't have to pay them nothing if you didn't. You're a quarter or 50 cents or whatever. And they're changing the names and the streets of everything now. And all these big houses are going up in different places that wasn't no land. And these roads are spreading out like 140. Well, where I lived, Silver Running's Humane Society down there, that wasn't there either when I was growing up. And it wasn't, I don't think, called 97. I forget what it was called. Littlestown Pike, I guess I saw. But now it's 97. But it joins 140, and they're making these bypasses in through there. So I guess you can say I had a hard life too.
Well, I appreciate you sharing it with us, because it tells us a lot
And
about
I remember Schreider's. Oh, wait a minute. I remember Schreider's had a canning factory here in Westminster too, and that's tore down. The canning factory, part of it is where the Times building is. You know, where they make the paper.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of it.
Wow. So you knew a lot of things that used to be that have changed.
Yeah, it's really, really a change, I'll tell you. As I say, and I can't believe it, but it's true. The hospital wasn't up here. The center wasn't there. Here. It's really a lot of change in Westminster because the streets had people in. Now mostly it's all offices. There are some people living in houses, but they're making a lot of offices here in Westminster and Main Street. It's really changed. You had a movie. They had 2 movies when I grew up. Now they have none, I don't think. And it's just really, and Grace Lutheran Church up here is really, really big church. So I used to know a lot of people, but you get older, they pass away, and you forget.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for
You're
giving us
welcome.
that information.
Thank you.